Let's be honest, most people walk into an interview and just wing it, hoping their personality will carry them through. But as a recruiter who has spent the last 15 years on the other side of the desk, I can tell you exactly why that fails. My name is Paul, and after reviewing tens of thousands of candidates, I've realized that the difference between an offer and a rejection letter usually comes down to one thing: how you structure your stories. In this video, I'm giving you my hand-picked top 10 situational interview questions with watertight sample answers. We're going to use the STAR method to ensure your responses are impossible to pick apart. Watch until the very end, because I'm going to share a specific recruiter's secret about the result phase of your story. Most people get this part wrong, but if you do it the way I show you at the end, you'll be the candidate the hiring manager talks about for the rest of the day. Let's dive in. What is the STAR method? Before we hit the questions, you need the framework. STAR stands for situation, the context of what was happening. Task, the specific challenge or goal you faced. Action, exactly what you did, not the team. Result, the positive outcome of your efforts. Question 1. Tell me about a time you failed. The strategy. Don't claim you're perfect. Admit to a relatable mistake, take ownership, and show how you fixed it. The answer. In my previous role as an admin, I was responsible for the logistics of a high-level board meeting. I missed checking the dietary requirements for the lunch delivery. When the food arrived, all meat and dairy, I realized 2 directors had strict religious and lactose-intolerant restrictions. I felt terrible, but I immediately apologized to the directors and took full accountability. I contacted a local cafe, placed an urgent custom order, and personally picked it up within 30 minutes. They had their hot meal before the break ended. I learned to never assume details, and I created a checklist for all future events. Question 2. Describe a time you worked in a team. The strategy. Focus on being proactive and supporting others without being asked. The answer. Recently, 2 members of my 4-person team were out, one on vacation and one on sick leave. My remaining colleague was clearly drowning in tasks. I stepped in and offered to handle her client calls and data entry for the day. Because I took that initiative, she was able to focus on her primary deadlines without burning out. We hit our department goals despite being short-staffed, proving that a team is only as strong as its willingness to cover for one another. Question 3. Tell me about a time you helped a colleague. The strategy. Show empathy and the ability to spot a problem before it explodes. The answer. I noticed a coworker was consistently missing the deadline for our weekly reports. Instead of complaining to our boss, I took them to lunch to see if they were okay. It turned out they didn't understand the new software we were using but were too embarrassed to ask for help. I stayed late for 2 evenings to coach them through the process. Within a month, their reports were on time, their confidence skyrocketed, and the friction in our department vanished. Question 4. Tell me about a mistake you made. The strategy. Highlight self-awareness and how you handle pressure when things go wrong. The answer. Early in my career, I was so eager to impress that I overpromised on 3 major projects simultaneously. I quickly realized I couldn't meet the deadlines I'd set. Instead of hiding, I sat down with my manager, apologized for my overambition, and proposed a new priority list. We reallocated one task, and I finished the other 2 on time. I learned that being a professional means being realistic about your capacity so you don't let the team down. Question 5. Give me an example of motivating others. The strategy. Show leadership regardless of your job title. The answer. As a sales lead, 2 new hires were struggling and wanted to quit after a bad month. I pulled my own rookie stats from 5 years ago to show them that I struggled even more than they were. I spent the afternoon doing live, shadowing calls with them to share my techniques. Seeing that even experts started at 0 gave them the boost they needed. Both hit their targets the following month, and one even broke the quarterly record. Question 6. How do you handle conflict at work? The strategy. Stay calm, move the conversation to a private setting, and focus on the solution. The answer. A new colleague wasn't logging customer messages correctly, which made my job harder. When I asked if she needed help, she took it the wrong way and got defensive. I immediately asked to speak privately. I stayed calm and explained that I wasn't criticizing her, I just wanted us to have a smooth workflow. Once she felt safe, she apologized for the outburst. We went to lunch the next day to reset our relationship, and we've been a great duo ever since. Question 7. Describe a difficult problem you solved. The strategy. Choose a high-stakes situation with a clear financial or operational impact. The answer. A major client, worth $1 million in annual revenue, threatened to leave because of a shipping delay. I took total ownership. I contacted the warehouse manager directly, negotiated an expedited courier at a discount, and personally updated the client every 2 hours. By going above and beyond the standard support ticket process, I saved the contract and the client actually increased their order size the following month. Question 8. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond. The strategy. Show that you care about the person, not just the process. The answer. A customer called frustrated because they hadn't received a refund for weeks. Instead of passing them to another department, I stayed on the line while I manually tracked the error. I found a typo in their bank details that 3 other people had missed. I fixed it, processed the refund, and sent a personal confirmation email. They went from being an angry caller to leaving a 5-star review specifically mentioning my name. Question 9. Tell me about a time you disagreed with your boss. The strategy. Demonstrate respect for authority while showing you have the guts to speak up for the company's best interest. The answer. My manager wanted to approve a massive discount for a client. I knew this client had a history of taking the discount and then canceling their service. I asked for a private meeting and showed my manager the data on this specific account. After seeing the numbers, she realized the risk was too high and agreed with me. We saved the company's margin and implemented a new discount vetting process. Question 10. How do you handle a high-pressure situation? The strategy. Prove you can think on your feet when you're out of your comfort zone. The answer. While I was still a trainee in retail, I was left alone on the floor when a customer started shouting about a denied refund. I stayed calm, took him aside to clear the queue, and explained I was a trainee but was determined to help. I listened to his whole story, which calmed him down. I called a manager to the floor but pre-briefed her so the customer didn't have to repeat himself. The manager handled the refund, and the customer left satisfied because he felt heard. The recruiter's secret. The future value result. You've made it to the end. Here is the secret I promised. Most candidates end their star stories at the result. They say, and then the problem was fixed. If you want the offer, you need to add one more sentence. The reflection. Tell the interviewer exactly how that experience changed how you work today. For example, because of that mistake, I now use a double verification system for all my data entry. This shows the recruiter that you are a continuous learner. It proves that if they hire you, you aren't just bringing your skills, you're bringing a brain that gets smarter every time it hits a hurdle.